Part 2 of the leaflet number 2 of the White Rose, which got some intellectuals here by the Yahtzee regime. Is this a sign that the Germans have become brutalized in their most primitive human emotions? This means, have they become numb to everything that's happening? Have they become numb to even feeling the emotions of people being harmed by these policies? That no chord shrieks in horror in the face of such deeds, that they have fallen into such a fatal sleep out of which they will not wake up, never ever? It appears so, and it must be so if the German does not finally rise up from his numbness, if he does not protest wherever he possibly can against this clique of criminals, if he does not have pity on these hundreds of thousands who have been sacrificed. And ultimately, that apathy will lead to 6 million Jews having been unalived. Each man wishes to be acquitted of his complicity. Everyone does so, then lies back to sleep with a calm, clear conscience. But he may not acquit himself. Everyone is guilty, guilty, guilty. And this is the thing, you don't have to directly be involved in these heinous crimes like being a member of ICE and being the Gestapo of this administration, being in the FBI and DEA that is helping and assisting them in partaking in their Gestapo missions. You can just be a supporter who isn't actually involved in the actual actions, or just be a passive American who doesn't feel like they need to do anything in order to resist this, because why do it? We have 4 years, we have midterms. You want to use ignorance in order to remove any sort of culpability from you, but no, your silence is an action, your negligence is an action, and it produces the courage in this administration to go further and further. This tyranny will last as long as we allow for it to last. But it is not too late to rid the world of this most awful of all miscarriages of government in order to avoid incurring even more guilt. And that's the thing, because contrary to the situation over there with the Yahtzees, ours literally committed an insurrection against our constitution, which is worse than doing it against the government, because our constitution is our social contract. And refusing to quell that insurrection that he literally struck up, what happened was election interference with the 2020 election results. That would force him to not be qualified to be in this position, yet here he is. Although Scott is positioned that there has to be legislation in order to put that he isn't legitimate, there is also has to be a vote to position that he is legitimate under the provision of Little Amendment 14, Section 3. Those of us who have had our eyes completely opened in recent years, since we know with whom we are dealing, it is high time for us to exterminate this brown horde. And that's the thing, we haven't even gone years. We've gone, a few months, weeks, days, it seems like years. Until war broke out, the majority of the German people were hoodwinked. National Socialism did not show itself in its truest form. Now, this is what's important to note, because he took some time in order to roll out his most controversial policies, but in our reality it's only taken days and weeks, so they're doing it much faster than this one. The Yahtzee took 53 days to end democracy. Now he's looking into doing it much sooner. But now that we have recognized it for what it is, it must be the sole and primary duty of every German, indeed our most holy duty, to annihilate this wild inhuman beast. And this is true for this administration as well. Even through Core Warranto, they shouldn't have a legitimate reign over our country, because at the forefront, the entire ticket is null. From the head, having partaken in election interference in 2021, he whose administration is unseen, his people are happy. He whose administration is meddlesome, his people are broken. Distress, oh, that is what happiness is built upon. Happiness, oh, mass distress. Basically, if you have an agenda that is much quieter, then you can make people adapt to that without making them feel uncomfortable. That's why Mustache Man waited 4 years to even introduce the Jewish problem. And what is the end of this? The end cannot be seen in its entirety. Order becomes disorder, good becomes bad, the nation becomes confused. Has it not been this way every day for a very long time? Basically, the rule of law and normal social order becomes reshaped in order to advance the agenda of the ruling fascist regime. That is why the great man is rectangular, but he does not injure. He is angular, but he does not wound. He is upright, but not rough. He is transparent, but he does not glitter. He who undertakes to rule a kingdom and forms it as he pleases, I do not see him achieving his goals. That is all. The kingdom is a living organism. Verily, it cannot be fabricated. He who wishes to take it in hand will ruin it. He who wishes to usurp it to violate it will lose it. Therefore, some creatures lead, others follow them. Some are cold-blooded, others are warm-blooded. Some are strong, some are weak, some attain wealth, others are overthrown. The great man therefore refrains from excesses, refrains from arrogance, refrains from infringements. In the end, it says, we request that you make as many carbon copies of this document as possible and pass it on. Note, they were eventually by the Yahtzee government for trying to overthrow the government, as they positioned only because they passed out leaflets that said this. Now I guess we're going to challenge to see how making this accessible is going to cost me. But here we go. I'm gonna do all of them.